One of the weirdest things about this job, and it is a job whether I want to freely admit it or not, it is my only source of income until my health issues are sorted. One of the weirdest things is figuring out when a map is ready. At what stage am I happy enough with it to create a video and say, hey look, I made this thing, it might be useful. Because at the end of the day, I do try and be useful with these things. That is kind of the point. And in some places, at some times, I've released a work in progress map. I've released it fairly late in the work in progress, and I've just, taken people's feedback on board for the last few tweaks. Sometimes I'm already up to version 2 or 3 of the map by the time I put it out, because it's taken me a while just to really polish it up. And sometimes I go against the kind of conventions of what I've been doing for a while now, which is putting a map up on my Ko-fi page for, supporters, people who will happily support the many hours of work that I put into this before I put up a free map for everybody. And this is one of those times. This is one of those times where I've said, you know what? The map that I'm working on, I need people's help with. Because it's a Souls-like game, and there's no completion tracker or statistics because it's a Souls-like game. And I had massive issues. People often ask me, Dema, what's the hardest game you've had to map? And my general response to that has always been, well, mapping's not really hard, per se. It's just really time consuming, and at times, really tedious. That's what I used to say. If anybody asks me that in the future, Tombwater. Tombwater is the hardest map I've ever made. The hardest game I've had to map, not because the game itself is difficult, although it is a Souls game, but because I found A, navigating this world incredibly challenging, and B, the way the world is put together, which I will talk about in this video, is challenging to stitch together. So this is not going to be just my normal, hey look, it's a metroidvania map announcement video, blah blah blah, here's a map that I've made, show you the map. If you're a little bit more interested in what I do and how I do it, then this video is probably more for you. We're going to start off with what is on screen here. This is the overworld map of Tombwater as it is presented to you in game. This is all that you get. And whilst I know that the game is made by 2 devs, I know that they've been working on it for a number of years, I know that it is a very well put together game with a huge world and lots of cool stuff to find. This map was the source of so many headaches for me. Because, and I don't like saying this, but I'm going to, sorry, this map is useless. No, this map is close to useless for the kind of game world that has been created. This is a complex Souls-like world. It has landmarks like a Souls-like game does. It has labyrinthine passageways like a Souls-like game does. And the problem is, in a Souls-like game that is a 3D game, you can look around and constantly get your bearings. And in this, using this map, you are a little dot. You're a little cowboy hatted dude on the map. And yes, that helps a little bit. And outside of this main city area, it's generally not too bad. It's not great, but it's not too bad. But the city, nuh-uh. This is woefully inadequate for realistically finding your way around the city. It's got the landmarks on it, you know, it's got the circus, it's got the cathedral, it's got the clock tower, it's got the station, it's got the lake district and the canals, it's got the bank, I think that is. But these houses are just decorative. They in no way indicate how the streets are laid out or anything like that. The river, the canal at least, is roughly in the right place. But I just found it incredibly difficult and not particularly useful to actually bother bringing up the map screen. And for me, who is spatially idiotic, that was problematic. So I found myself in my playthrough admiring the pixel art but getting quite frustrated with getting around. And it was like, if this was a Unity game, or if this was an Unreal Engine game, or if even this was a Godot game at this point, I could do something about that. If it was Unity, free camera, just pull the camera back, get a bird's eye view. Same for Unreal. If this was a Game Maker Studio 2 game, I could probably pull out the entire scene files and just work with it like that. I couldn't do any of that because it's not any of those engines. This is made in Solarus, which is a Zelda fan games engine, essentially. That's kind of what it started off at, and that's what it's mostly known for. I knew nothing about it, and in order to create the map that I've made, I had to figure out how to essentially break it or do something with it in order to create something that would be vaguely useful for me, and then potentially useful for other people. So, let's switch over to my map. I'll let that sink in for a moment. This is probably the messiest map I have ever made. It is still, in many ways, really fucking confusing to even navigate the map. But hopefully you can see. Let's switch back to the overworld. So we've got the central district, we've got the circus, we've got the cathedral, we've got the settlement, we've got the canyon floor, we've got the cemetery, we've got the windmills, we've got the forest, we've got the ranch, the estate up there, we've got the fort up here, we've got the lake here, we've got the maze of ruins and Thistle Gulch. We've got the central district with the circus and the cathedral and the windmills and the cemetery and the settlement and the so on and so forth. But there's also this massive chunk all the way around of dungeons and insides and lower levels beneath the city and a giant aquatic Lovecraftian city deep beneath the earth and mines with 3 levels and so on and so forth. And of course, oh, you can't see this. If you could see this, you will realise that this is at 5% of actual size. 1, 0, 0. This is 100% of actual size. Because, as I said, I figured out how to mess around with the game engine. So I have actually created this map at 1:1 pixel scale. Don't know why I do this, but I do. So you can see that our hero is properly 1:1 scale. Took me a while to get this working and to get it right, but it is working. It's actually probably best viewed at 50%, and I've rescaled everything. So, you might first be thinking, Demajen, why is everything pink in this section? This is the bit that I kept getting lost in. This is the bit that I found incredibly difficult to navigate. So once I'd actually got the map put together and I got a load of stuff on it, what did I do? I went back to the base map and I started drawing rectangles on. A little bit like I did for the Constance map, if any of you have watched the video for that or picked up the Constance map or used it in the Google Drive. I drew a load of rectangles on. I drew rectangles on for every bit of this city section that you can walk on. And then I did the pits with black and red outlines as well, because you kind of need to be able to see those. It looked a little bit weird without them. And since doing this, first of all, it really helped in some ways the layout of the Central District click a little bit in my head. But just having this on my second monitor when I was trying to get around in the city really helped me. It might make absolutely zero difference to you, but it helped me. Does it make it look a little bit ugly in comparison to other areas of the game? Absolutely. Yes, it does. Am I going to offer a variant option without this? Probably not, because that means I need to make double the number of files, and this one is quite large, as you gathered. You know, let's zoom it out to 5% again. It's quite large. It takes quite some time, to save, and so on and so forth. But yeah, so we've got the Central District, we've got the Canyon settlements, we've got the Canyon floor, and one thing that I noted when I was putting this together, which in some ways is quite unfortunate, it's that whilst a good chunk of the world map fits together, you know, the mining camp fits in snugly with Pilgrims, which fits in snugly with Central District, which fits in snugly with the Lake District, which fits snugly with the Lake Lacura, and the Bleakpool Woods, and Presidio Alto. It's a very thin join to Mesa Ruins, so that's fine. The Thistle Gulch, no. Oh. There was no way of making this fit together properly. This bit here, with this canyon, actually goes... That edge there is this edge here. It should join, but then the bridge doesn't fit together. And if the bridge doesn't fit together, then this section doesn't fit together either. And if I had the time, and maybe I will see if I can find the time, I'll actually link these up by just extending the bridge a bit, just so it looks neater. But to be honest, the map is so messy that doing small things to make it neater is not really going to make a huge amount of difference. You know, you've got lines all over the place. So anyway, why was this map difficult to do? Well, you know how in a Zelda dungeon, all of the rooms and the floors are aligned to a grid? Nope. Doesn't do that. Room sizes are roughly of a similar amount, but they're kind of vibing in terms of their dimensions. And in order to get all of the bits and pieces on, I had to put on a load of door icons and label all the doors so that you can get to. And it was a pain in the ass. It was a good challenge, but it was a pain in the ass. I cannot imagine anybody else being stupid enough to do this. To try and get things to link up in a way that is usable and coherent. And even now, when I'm trying to get around some of these areas, I really have to just zoom in and just stop and plan out a route just to get from A to B. Some areas you don't need it, but some areas I absolutely did. You know, it's some gorgeous pixel art, but it's so detailed that it makes it quite difficult to get around. So yes, the Tombwater map. I'm not going to call this a work in progress one because I think I've done most of the work. There might be some things that I haven't found. Some things that aren't on here. There might be some secret walls or extra weapons or so on and so forth. But as I said, it's a Souls-like game. And whilst there are achievements for finding all the spells and finding all the charms, there aren't achievements for you've got all the weapons in the game or you've got all the fire. Oh no, there is one for the firearms. There is one for the firearms. It was a lot of work, folks. It's taken me. I don't actually even know what I'm up to now. Let me check this live because why the hell not? Right, that is reading 76 hours. 76 hours minus the 18 hours of footage that I recorded. So I've got 18 hours of footage. I've got 26 hours, 26.7 hours of playtime, but I've got 18 hours of actual footage from me just playing the game. So we're looking at 50 plus hours. 55. What did I say it was? Yeah, 76 hours. So it's a massive chunk of time. Now, as I said, I think I said back at the start of the video, this isn't scripted, as you can very clearly tell. There was no way I was going to be able to do this without asking for help and getting feedback from other people playing the game. So, whilst there is now a version of this map, 100% scale, so just to remind you, if it'll work, come on Photoshop, there we go, 100% scale, so the scale that the map is, or that the game world is in-game, in its 1-for-1 pixel art fabulousness, there is a version of the map that is this big, available at my coffee.com. coffee.com/Demajen. That features this, and it features a JPEG version that's 50% of the size, which is, as I said, this is the size that I've actually designed it to be used at. I actually had to redo all of the font sizes today because I realised that doing it at this was pointless. So I've designed it to be kind of useful at this, or maybe even kind of like 30%, depending on what kind of device you are using. So there's a 100% version in a PNG format. There's a 50% version in JPEG, which is what I've been using for stuff when I've been checking bits and pieces today. But as I said, there's already a version in the Google Drive as well. So it's not 2 weeks of early access and then everybody gets a free version. It is, no, there's already a free version there. Because I needed people to check it, I needed people to look at it, because, it's a substantial endeavour. I'm not going to take that down. I'm just going to keep on updating them all as they go. Obviously, as I said at the start of the video, I've been ill since September 2024. At this point, I have not been able to do my actual job, which is an English teacher. I've not been able to get in the classroom because I've been in no state to do it. My throat has not got any better, which is why I've not been putting out as many videos. It might look like I've been putting out quite a lot of videos because I've still been putting out videos practically daily, but they're all kind of queued up in advance as and when I've been able to get to them. There's not going to be a playthrough of Tombwater, incidentally. I didn't play it. I didn't play it how it should have been played, shall we say. So, yeah, that's not coming out. And obviously, I've got all these chest and heart problems as well, which I'm dealing with. So I can't go in a classroom, and thus I am scraping by on map money, essentially. Now, this is not a pity party or what have you, but I've had another few comments recently about, paywalls and charging for maps and blah, blah, blah. You want us to pay, blah, blah, blah. Why is this not free, blah, blah, blah. It's like, because it's the only way I can afford to pay my bills right now. So, if you can support, if you like the map or any of the other maps that I've put out and you want to support me, that is greatly appreciated right now. I'm getting enough money in from map sales to survive, but if one thing goes wrong, then I'm screwed, basically. Hoping to win the lottery. So anyway, back to Tombwater. Really fun game if you play it like I did, which is basically using the built-in damage modifiers to basically turn it into Bloodborne Zelda. I played it like a Zelda game. I didn't play it... After about the 8-hour mark, I played it like a Zelda game. I didn't play it as a Souls game. I played it as a Souls game up until then, and I just found that whilst I very much liked what they were going for, I just wasn't in the mood straight after playing 53 hours of Grime 2, and spending 70 odd hours on the map for that. I just didn't want to play another Souls-like, so I bumped the difficulty in my favour and I had a great time. Really, really enjoyable game. It is a Metroidvania. I can't really call it a Zelda-like. It looks like a Zelda game. It's made in an engine that is, Zelda fan games, but it's not really a Zelda game. It shares some of the trappings of, but it is very much a Metroidvania. You get Metroidvania powers that help you get to various places on the map. There's backtracking to bits that you couldn't get before, and so on and so forth. It works pretty darn well. Is it going to be for everybody? No, but it does have those gameplay options to help people overcome the challenges. And none of the achievements, and I know this is going to piss some of those kind of difficulty purists off, none of the achievements are difficulty locked. So if you want to make yourself essentially a god, and because you can change the amount of damage that you take down to 1% per hit, so you can make yourself a god and you can bump up your damage 400%. I think those are the maximums in your favour. And you can just go to town on stuff. You can still occasionally get yourself caught in a corner and die. I know this, rather embarrassingly. But yeah, you probably still. I haven't timed this, but if I was to start a new game tonight, and I do need to start a new game because I need to check some stuff from the start anyway. If I was to start a new game tonight and to make myself essentially godlike, it would probably, even now, knowing exactly where to go to speed through the game, it would probably still take me a number of hours, probably 3-4 hours, to just absolutely slaughter my way through knowing where to go. If you were to put everything in your favour without knowing where to go, I would say it would probably still take you 7 or 8 hours at least, because it's, as you've hopefully been able to ascertain, it's a fucking massive game. So there we go, the Tombwater map. If you need the help, there's a version of it in the Google Drive at demajen.co.uk/Tombwater. If you just go to demajen.co.uk, it'll be the latest one there at the time of recording this, which is the 5th of April 2026. Obviously, if you see this video in the future, there's probably going to be other maps in front of it. But just search for Tombwater on the front page and check out all the other ridiculous number of maps that I've made at this point. It's over 130 or something right now. If you do want to support me and the work I do, and one of the reasons why I've made this video so long, well, I haven't intentionally made it long, I've just talked a lot, which I'm going to suffer for very shortly. I wanted to take you through the process a little bit and show you that, you know, some of the things that I've had to do, the troubles and tribulations that I've had to overcome in order to put together this particular map. Somebody asked me whether I was going to extend the pink to the entire game world. That would take hours. It took me, I think, 3-ish hours to do the pink for this and make sure it was accurate. You know, drawing rectangles on doesn't take a huge amount of time. It took me about 45 minutes, but making it vaguely accurate took a little bit longer. And even then, there's still some bits, especially in the circus, that just aren't right. Anyway, I'm going to go because my throat is now going there at me, as you can probably tell. There are some bits on the map that aren't accessible. Actually, in the game, I will try and neaten some of those up as I go. But as I said, I had to try and figure out how to hack the game. And this isn't a case of me moving the camera back, because there isn't actually a way of doing that. I had to change the game's internal resolution. Because it's a 420 by 210 or something pixel window. And I had to mess around with stuff to try and find the best way of capturing it when the pixels were square and not aliased. It took a while. I don't remember exactly how long, but it was good. It was good stuff. You know, I like figuring out new things. I like figuring out how to overcome the hurdles. I hope this map is useful for people. There's also a spreadsheet, as there so often is for me, in the Google Drive, where I list out a load of the key items and weapons and so on and so forth in the game, and where to find those. So you've got a checklist if you want those. There's also a version of just this portion of the map, the city portion, if you want that on your second monitor or what have you, and you don't want the full map open, because it's quite large. It occupies quite a lot of memory. I'm gonna go. My throat's starting to really hurt. Thank you very much for watching, folks. As I said, pop to demajen.co.uk to get the stuff. If you want to support me, links in the description below. Really appreciate it. And I will catch you all in the next video. If you do find anything on this or in the game that's not on this, let me know, will you please, so I can add it on. Because it's a Souls-like, and as with all Souls-likes, I get a little bit anxious that I've missed something important off. Have a great day. Cheerio. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, why not click the like button and consider subscribing. Remember, you can ring the bell notification icon to get notified when new videos go live. And until next time, cheerio.